Hi guys, it's Jess from Honest Fiction, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am going to be sharing my March TBR. Alright guys, so I can already tell March is going to be an amazing reading month, so I'm going to be participating in a few different read-alongs that I will talk about in this video, as well as some really fun things that are going to be taking place on my Patreon. So I'm so excited to share a little bit of a sneak peek. I have been working on this all month, so I'm so excited about it. And then there's also a few new fantasy romance releases that released at the end of February that I'm super excited to pick up. So if you are unfamiliar with my channel, I post new videos every Wednesday and Sunday. If you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. You can also hit that notification bell to be notified whenever I post new bookish content. You can also check out my Instagram, Goodreads, and Patreon, all linked down below. With all that out of the way, let's talk about the books I want to read in March. Alright guys, so starting off with read-alongs, I am so excited to be one of the co-hosts for the Romance Takeover Readathon, which is hosted by Jen from the Book Refuge every year. So the only rule for this readathon is read as much romance as possible, and it is taking place from March 14th to 17th. So I will have all of the templates and everything on my Instagram, and I cannot wait. So I hope you guys join us. It is going to be so much fun. And the next read-along is the Throne of Glass read-along, which is taking place on my Patreon. So last month we read the first book in the Throne of Glass series, and this month we are reading Crown of Midnight, which is the second book in the Throne of Glass series. If you are unfamiliar with the series, we are following Selena Sardathian, and in the first book she travels with a few soldiers to this kingdom where she finds out that she has to fight to the death against other assassins, and also there are some mysteries she has to uncover. And overall, I love this series so much, but I have so much trouble doing a plot synopsis because there are just spoilers galore. So if that plot synopsis didn't really sound like Throne of Glass, it's because I am so afraid of spoiling absolutely anything about this series because it is so good. But anyway, we will be reading Crown of Midnight and having a live show probably in the beginning of April. And I am very excited. So check out my Patreon. I have it linked down in the description below. And the final announcement is sharing my March Patreon reading challenge theme. So I asked over on my Patreon what was something that would help build a sense of community, and a lot of you guys said having a reading challenge every month. So every month I am going to announce a new reading challenge theme in my TBR video, and I will have graphics and prompts and little things that all pertain to that theme. So this month's theme is fairy tale reimaginings, and I am so excited. I love books that are inspired by fairy tales, and this should be really fun. So the book that you all chose for the Patreon book club pick is A Curse of the Thorn King by Lizette Marshall, and this is a steamy Beauty and the Beast reimagining that involves fae, and it sounds so good. I love Lizette Marshall's writing. She's also the author that wrote A Court of Blood and Bindings, which is one of my favorite fantasy romances that I read last year. So this should be really fun. And once again, my Patreon is linked down below if you guys want to join. So starting off with fantasy romance, first up we have A Fate Inked in Blood, and this is by Danielle L. Jensen. So this is an adult fantasy romance that is inspired by Norse mythology. I know that it's enemies to lovers, and apparently there are battle gods, and there is a girl that is promised to unite the kingdom. However, she has to defeat this king, but she starts to develop feelings for his son, and it just sounds so good. So this is the Fairy Loot Special Edition, and I'm gonna be honest, I was a little underwhelmed when I first got this, just because although it definitely gives off the whole Norse vibes, I wanted a little bit more from the cover, and the sprayed edges are gorgeous. But I then took off the dust jacket, and oh my gosh, they knocked it out of the park. So this is the regular hardback, which kind of looks similar to all of other Fairy Loot's other hardback books. However, the inside artwork is where this book shines. Oh, I can get it. Look how gorgeous that artwork is. It is so unbelievably pretty. I am obsessed. So yeah, unfortunately, I do not have the audiobook for this. I pre-ordered it, but it hasn't been released yet at the time I'm filming this video. But as soon as that audiobook drops, I will be listening to this because I can already tell it's going to be a 5-star read. This is the same author that wrote the Bridge Kingdom duology, which is a young adult fantasy romance enemies to lovers duology that I was obsessed with when I first started BookTube. So I know this is going to be so good. And next up, I want to read Bend Her, which is another Beauty and the Beast reimagining. So I believe this is following a dark mage who knows that there is a prophecy that one day he will die protecting this woman. And then our other main character is a girl who has been kept in isolation by her father, warning that one day she will be kidnapped, and then that eventually ends up happening. So I believe this mage ends up teaching our main character how to use magic, and the story kind of goes from there. But it sounds really good. It has decent reviews on Goodreads, so I'm very excited to pick it up. And next up is The Ever King by L.J. Andrews. Now, this book has been on my radar for quite some time. However, I wanted to finish L.J. Andrews' first series because there are characters that apparently pop up in The Ever King, but that doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon, and I just found out the audiobook for The Ever King is releasing in March, so I think I'm just going to skip that first series and go straight into The Ever King because all of my friends are loving this dark fantasy romance. It also has sirens and pirates and Vikings, and it just sounds so good, enemies to lovers, and I just cannot wait. And moving in to paranormal and dark romance, first up we have Nocticadia by Carrie Lake. I am sure I just butchered the title of that book, but I have seen it pronounced so many different ways. But it is a dark academia, slow burn, forbidden age gap romance, and it is by Carrie Lake. So it is definitely going to have some super dark tropes going on. So I read Master of Salt and Sorrow, I believe, by the same author, and it was when I wasn't really reading darker romance, so I was really shook, but I'm so excited for this one because I've been in such a mood for dark academia, and this just sounds amazing. So this isn't really paranormal at all, but it does have like creepy sci-fi elements, I've heard, and the only person I know that's actually read this book is Tori from Novel Life, and she said it was pretty good. So I am very excited to check this book out, and hopefully I absolutely love it. And next up is Bride by Ali Hazelwood. Now, this book everyone seems to be talking about right now. It is a arranged marriage romance between a vampire and a alpha werewolf. And apparently it's like Omegaverse light. So if you're just getting into Omegaverse, apparently this is a very good place to start. I wish I did that because my first Omegaverse was Baby and the Late Night Howlers. And wow, does that just throw you right in. But I am very intrigued by this. Ali Hazelwood, I'm still not sure. So I read the first book in her Steam series, and I loved the first one, The Love Hypothesis. But the rest of them were very underwhelming, so I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about this. But I know so many people have rated this very high. I think Lacey from Lacey Book Lover said this was one of her top reads already for the year. So I hope I love it as much as everyone else, and I'm so excited to read this. And next up is me just manifesting an audiobook releasing in March. However, I really hope it does release in March or April, and that is Caution to the Wind. And this is by Gianna Darling. It is the most recent book in the Fallen Men series, which is a dark motorcycle club romance series that I adore with all of my heart. It's really the series that got me into dark and contemporary romance. Prior to that, I was really only reading fantasy romance, and oh my word, I just love Gianna Darling's writing so much. So I'm really hoping the audiobook comes out soon. I own 2 physical copies of the book, and I might end up just reading it physically, but just time constraints, it's really difficult. So once again, just really hoping that audiobook releases in March, and if it does, I will 100% be reading it. And last up is a popular contemporary romance series. So I want to reread the first 2 books in the Magnolia Park series and then continue with the series from there. So I read the first 2 books when that series was gaining a lot of popularity last year. However, I read the first book for a vlog, so I was under time constraints and I was physically reading it. And I feel like that kind of tampered my enjoyment of the book. And then the second book I read while I was on a family vacation. So I was interrupted a lot while I was reading it. So I feel like if I listen to the audiobooks, I'm just going to have a better experience with that series. And I did love a lot of aspects of Magnolia Parks. It is so unbelievably angsty. If you're unfamiliar with the series, we are following these London socialites, and they just have the most toxic relationships, but also so addicting, a little bit reminiscent of Gossip Girl. So anyway, I will hopefully be reading at least the first 2 books and then possibly going along or going farther in the series in March, April, and then May. But I cannot wait just to jump back into the Magnolia Parks world. Alright guys, those are all the books I plan on reading in March. Please let me know down in the comments below if you have read any of the books I mentioned. And also, I hope you guys can join us for the Romance Takeover Readathon. Once again, that is happening on March 14th through 17th. And I'd like to say a huge thank you to my Paladin protectors, Amanda, Erin, and Leslie. Thank you all so much for supporting my channel. And I said this already, I post new videos every Wednesday and Sunday, and if you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. I will see you all next week. Bye!